Before we begin today's episode, we want to let our viewers and listeners know that the content discussed may be triggering for some individuals. This episode includes discussions around alcohol and drug abuse, as well as sensitive topics related to suicide. If you are someone you know is struggling with these issues and you find it challenging to listen, we encourage you to prioritise your well-being and consider skipping this episode. Please seek support from a mental health professional or a trusted individual if you need assistance. Thank you for understanding.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode 5 of KERVcast, your go-to destination for all things entrepreneurship, KERV life and the untold stories that shaped our journey. My name is Ben, Marketing Manager at KERV Capital and host of KERVcast. Today we'll be discussing the dynamic world of a new entrepreneur, the sudden changes, challenges and life in the new role. And joining us today to answer all the queries that we have, all the way from the Mansfield district of Nottinghamshire, CEO and new founder of Novum Executive, Mr. Joe McCormack. Welcome to the podcast,
Benjamin,
Joe.
how are we doing?
Very good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
nervous?
Yeah. Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
Nervous.
I am, to be fair, mate. It's a bit of a weird setting.
Oh, it's different, isn't it?
Very weird, mate.
In the hot seat today, mate.
Looking well.
Yeah, absolutely. You too. So we'll start off straight away, Joe. Start off a bit of backstory about yourself in terms of your career and how you've got to where you are today to running your own business.
Yeah, cool. No problem. So like you said, yeah, so I'm born and bred Mansfield, the sunny part of Nottinghamshire, but my career started off a little bit different. So I actually started off playing professional football when I was sort of 15, 16. So from the age of 15, 16, started out at Mansfield Town when I was pretty young. Moved then into sort of playing football for Coventry City. So at Coventry from 15 to 18. So always had that sporting competitive background, stilled in sort of discipline, teamwork, that sort of side of things realistically. So then that took me to about 19. I got released from football when I was 19. I thought pretty much, shit, what do I do now? Do you know what I mean? Never really paid attention to the schoolwork because I always thought I was going to be a professional footballer. But sort of getting released at 19, I thought, right, what do I do now? And I had a couple of mates sort of looking around the industry, and one of the guys that I knew quite well worked in recruitment. Nice watch, nice cars, obviously all the nice things you see. And I thought, I wouldn't mind a bit of that really. So reached out, had a couple of conversations, and took it from there. So I started out in recruitment, bloody hell, good couple of years, probably 12, 13 years ago. Started off initially in procurement and supply chain recruitment, and quite quickly cut my teeth in the indirect procurement space. Worked at Michael Page. Everyone knows Michael Page. Spent a good few years at Michael Page cutting my teeth. And it was an interesting time back in them days. Bit similar to the Wolf of Wall Street life. Everyone's going out for beer, sleeping in the offices and that sort of side of thing realistically. But quite quickly within that sort of time frame, I thought, right, okay, where do I see my career going and how do I want to progress it? And I always wanted to know from then, I want to own my own recruitment business or search firm or do something for myself. But I understood I was very much still in my infancy in recruitment, and obviously needed to cut my teeth and understand a little bit more about the industry. I thought I knew everything about logistics and supply chain. Very quickly understood that I didn't know nothing. So I thought, right, what is the best path for me to move down? So I looked internally. So I looked at going internal as a recruitment. So I took a role as a talent acquisition manager at a business called NFT. NFT were a UK-based business, warehousing and distribution. Did a lot of sort of chilled distribution for quite a lot of your main retailers. So Morrison's, M&S, Sainsbury's, that sort of thing really. Spent a good few years there, and then sort of that was the plan then to move into a recruitment business. But an opportunity presented itself to move into a global role within a big multi-global conglomerate in CEVA Logistics. So I went into the CEVA world, got that global experience, understood more about how the regions operated in similarity with each other. How can I influence roles in America, Australia, New Zealand, APA, Singapore, all these different regions that we was operating in and now recruiting in. But that was pretty short-lived, to be honest, because they listed on the Swiss Stock Exchange. It was a Swiss-based business, listed on the Swiss Stock Exchange, and they sold. It was bought out by CMA CGM, which is another multinational business in the shipping industry. That happened, I think, around 2018, and we was offered a relocation from the global business to Marseille. My circumstances at the time, dad of 3 little girls, 2 at the time, now 3 little girls, and obviously married. But one of my little girls is quite severely disabled. So we had quite a strong support network in the UK, mother-in-law close by, obviously hospitals, different things like that. So it wasn't the right thing to do. So I actually took voluntary redundancy out of that. And we was then, so I told him the idea, and I got an opportunity at Maersk, biggest shipping company in the world, looking at moving into the logistics and services space, integrated with a number of different businesses they acquired, the likes of Damco, Performance Team in the US, KGH, and then a ton of historical business that they already got integrated. So it just made sense. And obviously wanting to start my own business, it was just dominoing onto, and I believe, massive believer on things present themselves. And it was an opportunity for me to go into Maersk, again, multi-global business, global footprint, and give me a ton of possibilities to widen my knowledge of the global logistics space, but also the network that I'm going to be creating, was where my interest lied.
Yeah.
So who can I get in front of? Who can I build relationships with? Who can I get credibility with? Because obviously in the back of my head, I knew that one day I want to own my own recruitment business. If I've got that credibility in the relationships, and that's only going to put me in good stead for when I move into my own business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which effectively leads us to now, buddy. So I spent a good few years at Maersk. And now we've launched Novum, effectively.
Yeah.
So exciting times.
Absolutely.
Novum means, if people don't know, new beginning in Latin. Again, yeah, I'm again just coming out with all this.
Honestly, mate, I'm absolutely flying here with this stuff. So I like you were speaking about there with you went to Maersk, obviously. You've done this, and that was sort of like potentially a plan really for you to get that basis of knowledge for yourself. So you kind of prepared yourself for the entrepreneurial world already, hadn't you? Was that a plan all along, really, to do that?
I think moving into 100% moving into internal world was always a stepping stone to widen my knowledge. Like I said, I thought I knew logistics and supply chain. I didn't know anything. And obviously moving from 3 good-sized businesses within the logistics world, all operated completely different. All had different footprint, all had different products that they were selling. So it gave me a good understanding on how the different products intertwined with each other, who needs to be involved with these products. And then again, now that puts me in a really good stead to, when we're selling Novum into these businesses, I've sat there.
Yeah,
I understand their pains. I understand what their pain points are, any bottlenecks that they've got, that we can help them with that. We can help them with succession planning, because I've sat in succession planning meetings and done that for the internal teams. We can look at the senior hires that they're looking at and what impact's that going to have on different parts of the business. So we can really help with that aspect of the things as well. But with regards to entrepreneurial, it's a weird one, because I think the entrepreneurial world I sort of fell into that a little bit. I know we were sort of discussing it off air a little bit, but from very early on in life, my childhood was a bit weird. So my old man went away, shall we say, for a good few years, and my mum also. So I was sort of left fending 15, 16 on me, and I thought, right, I need to sort of self-sacrifice here. I need to understand how I can generate a living effectively. Obviously, football got me to a certain extent, but once I come out of that, I'm thinking I need to understand how to generate revenue and generate a career, really. So I think it sort of found me a little bit rather than me sort of necessarily looking into it. Yeah. But I've always had them sort of tons of ideas, mate. Very impulsive. Yeah. Always looking at way I can make money or whatever it may be. I'm making products, I always had that entrepreneurial flair. Yeah. Just never know where to challenge it, really.
So obviously with the entrepreneurial path that you've taken and stuff, how you're saying it's found you more than you finding it, really. So that's quite an interesting point, really, because a lot of people what are hired sort of go towards the entrepreneurial sort of path, and they understand what it is. But the fact that it's came to you, is that because you've experienced it differently, do you think?
I think because of the circumstance I found me when I was 15, 16, I was sort of forced into survival mode. So I had to constantly look at ways that I can get by, mate, to be honest. Like, generate money. I never really had a ton, again, everyone thinks footballers, brilliant, earn a ton of money. Yes, when you're in the big leagues or you're in a pro, it's earning big money. But when you were I was a first year scholar on 150 quid a week. So you're not earning tons of money. So I had to constantly look at ways I can generate revenue. So in the weekends, I was working for my uncle at somewhere in Renault, selling cars, valeting cars, cleaning football boots for the lads who are playing football for. They'll pay me a £5 a time, but that's 10 pairs of boots, 50 quid. Do you know what I mean? That's it's constantly looking at ways, and I always had these ideas of looking at how, like, what can I do, and watching Dragon's Den and Shark Tank in America.
I love that.
Like,
I love that.
I love it, mate. But it's it's like that. Realistically, it's like how can I better myself, but also how can I put myself in a position where I can influence others as well by doing it. So I think my skill set, my characteristics was always going to go down the business owner route.
Yeah.
I think the impulsivity that I've always had and the ideas that my brain generates, it's different, slightly different from other people. So I think it was always going to go down that line.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been an interesting journey, mate, but I probably wouldn't change it to it.
Yeah, class. So in terms of KERV then, what drew you to KERV Capital then? Or did KERV Capital come to you? Like,
to be honest with you, again, LinkedIn, and again, I'm a massive believer on things happen for a reason, but I sort of fell into it. I fell into that to a certain extent. Went on LinkedIn, and first I had a big face come in, and this friend that we know, the big Scouse guy, in KERV, he sort of popped over, and he was sharing something on KERV's LinkedIn page, and I just clicked on, had a look. And it was like it was speaking to me. It was weird. And I just thought I'd reach out. We reached out to KERV, had a couple of conversations. Things progress ridiculously quick. And I don't think that's the normal KERV way. Wouldn't necessarily be my way. I'd like to know a little bit more about it. How does it work? But since meeting KERV, he put me in front of Stu. Obviously, we met with Weedy, Rayner, a few you guys. I was like, that's it, let's do it. And I think once you understand their values and what they're looking to do and what they're looking to achieve, I just wanted to be a part of it. So I think realistically, it just spoke to me.
Right.
And it were a no-brainer. Absolute no-brainer.
And now you're here.
Now we're here, mate.
Now we're here.
Recording a podcast. In sunny Leeds.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've spoke about the start of your entrepreneurial journey. So starting a new business, it can be exciting and challenging at the same time. What were your initial expectations coming into it? Because you were saying before how you'd sort of prepared yourself almost anyway. So I was wondering what your expectations actually are for coming in and starting.
Completely different from what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think in the early stages, everyone knows it's literally full foot to the pedal, and you sort of feet on the ground, and you constantly on the phone, constantly doing what you need to be doing. And I think that's what drew me to the KERV guys in the first place, because I think entrepreneurship and being a business owner can be very lonely. So for me, especially from a sporting background, I want to surround myself with a team that can add value to what I can't bring to the table. So I mean, I'm quite creative and very good at certain aspects of the business. On other aspects of the business, I'm absolutely shocking at, which is why I've surrounded myself with a team that can take that on. But I think they've made it so easy for me to step out of a corporate environment into effectively running my own business. However, my job's not really changed from what I was doing historically. I'm good at building relationships, building credibility, finding hard to fill people, find candidates to fill hard to fill roles. All the rest of it is effectively being took care of by KERV, you guys from the marketing aspect. I mean, you've got Rain looking after the operations, Weedy's taking full control of my finance, Kev's there as a mentor, Stu's there as a mentor. It's been relatively straightforward. We've had some success pretty quickly, which has been great. We've got vacancies that we're filling vacancies. We're in with some of the biggest businesses already in the world. It's good, but it's good because I'm not having to worry about chasing invoices, chasing debt, worrying about marketing, because you guys, all I've got to worry about is doing what I believe I'm good at.
Best. Yeah.
And it's been a nice transition from coming out of a corporate environment to having a business that I'm now sort of in the driving seat of, with the backing of a very, very good ship behind me.
What you've spoke about, obviously, the mentorship part there from Stu, Kev and whatnot. How much role has that played in the guidance from other entrepreneurs and maybe the supportive aspect, maybe not just now, but before you've embarked on the entrepreneurial journey?
I think the difference is with people like Kev and Stu, they've come from very humble beginnings. So what they've got is what they've worked hard to achieve, which is, I mean, it's similar for me. I've never been sort of born into something or been sort of given a silver spoon to eat something with. But I think realistically what I've had is where I've got my head down just a lad from Mansfield that's worked hard, got his head down and done all right. But the guys that have obviously come and now created KERV, very similar being, but the value system they believe they position themselves on, the values they have, the principles they run their business on. It spoke to me. It spoke to me in volumes, because you don't get that very often with entrepreneurs, or get that with business owners. I mean, a lot of people will look at somebody and go, I can make a few quid off that lad, and look for a quick win. All they said to me every single time, Matt, this is a marathon, not a sprint. We're putting all the foundations in to create and grow a very, very good business. The mentorship that I've had from them two, like it's more of a side. Obviously, in the very early stages, I pick up the phone, guys, what do you think of this? What would you do here? How would you operate this differently from what I'm doing now? It's more just a sounding board at the minute. But as we grow, and as we grow the brand and the business, it's that where I know they would add sort of value. The value they're going to add is going to be unbelievable, and that's what I see the main driving point of them two guys from a mentorship.
Yeah, and do you feel like, because you spoke about it being a marathon, not a sprint, is that something that you sort of have understood more?
So, mate, for me, it's horrendous.
Or has it always been like that sort of?
I want to sprint to everything.
Yeah, right.
So when sort of Stu was saying to me, listen, it's a marathon, I'm thinking, yeah, but we need some quick wins. We want to get. He's like, mate, just chill out.
Yeah.
But like I said, mentioned the impulsivity of me.
Yeah.
I want everything yesterday. I want us to be the biggest player in the market. Like I want us to own that logistics and services space globally. It's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
And having people, it's very good, very easy to get in your head as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. Things aren't going right. Are we progressing quick enough? Are we online with our business development plan? Are we the global plan we've got? Are we doing what we're supposed to be doing? These guys are then sort of say, listen, let's strip it back a little bit. We're absolutely fine. We're ahead of schedule. We're ahead of plan. Let's just chill out a little bit. Having that on its own is invaluable, buddy. But yeah, they've been again. I can't speak highly enough of the KERV.
Yeah, from who I've spoke to on the podcast, like you just said there, having people around you is massive. And is that been the same for you coming into as a new entrepreneur, having that initial backing and people 100%. Around you? Yeah, teamwork.
Growing up, mate, I've had to do everything myself, and giving away responsibility, creating uncertainty. I hate it. So I don't like giving away. I mean, if I can't control something, it petrifies me.
Yep.
So it took a lot to me. A joint venture, to a certain extent, scared me a little bit. But once I met those chaps, I trust them. I trust them with their side of the bargain, and they will deliver. All I need to focus on is delivering my side of the bargain. That was the main bit. But yeah, sort of giving away control and giving away control of marketing, controlling the finance. Of course, it's going to be scary. But I know I've got a good group of people in my corner. But I think I look at it into an aspect of, would I go and try and play a football game on my own? I'm a goalkeeper. So would I go and try and score a goal as well? No, because I'm not very good at that. Will I try and play left back or right? No, I'm not very good at that. I hate running for a fact. But they need a goalkeeper. We need a striker. And I look at them as I'm positioning people within my structure, within my team, in the KERV lads, to allow us to go and win Premiership.
Good way of looking at it.
And again, you wouldn't try and win a football game on your own. So for me, really, I'm building my dream team. Cheesy as that sounds.
A little bit, but we'll go with it.
Sprinkler cheese, mate.
Edit that one out. No, I like it. I like it.
That one out.
No, you're spot on. From obviously, you've been working for a business. Now you're running your business. What's that leap been like? I asked Andy the same question, but he's been in it a while. But for someone so new into the entrepreneurs yourself, what's that leap been like?
Well, you're playing with your money now, for one, which is obviously a different ball game altogether.
Yeah,
so decision making is a lot more thought out. Looking at ways that we want to attract staff to come and work for the business is completely different. We're looking for the culture fit to be right of what we're looking to bring it, like what we're looking to achieve, and my vision of the business. I look at like a Ben Francis gym shop thing, like obviously a completely lower scale, but that sort of you're in an environment where people want to come to work. You're looked after. You've got the latest software, the latest equipment. You're in a position. We're going to give you everything you can do to excel in your role. That's where I sort of see this business. I'm meeting them guys again, very similar vision, but how it's different from, again, it just comes down to every single decision. It's going to have such an impact on your business, and such an impact how you come across to the external market, how you market yourself. Everything's really key in the early stages, especially, and the decision making has got to be key. But again, sometimes I can. What I'm going to say is not going to be right. But again, having that sounding board, Joe, I don't think that's right. We've got to understand how we're going to try and portray this image. Are we portraying it in the right way? Them sort of questions are invaluable. So it's just the decision making for me.
Right.
And obviously there's a hell of a lot of worry. When you put your head down on that pillar, you're not thinking, I'm going to the gym in the morning, or now you're thinking, right, okay, have I done this? Have I done that? Have I spoke to who I need to speak to? There's no switch off, which has been an interesting sort of transition, because used to at 6 o'clock at night you can turn your laptop off and you go and sit down. I feel like now sometimes that it can be a 24/7 job being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Constantly looking at ways, because at the end of the day you've got to pay your bills, got to pay.
Yeah.
You got subscriptions, you've got different things, LinkedIn, all that sort of thing. So it's a 24/7 job, which I've found pretty quickly.
Do you feel that? I know that people say you learn from your mistakes.
Yeah.
In the entrepreneur world, is that the sort of same thing as well? Because obviously some mistakes can cost big kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? So do you feel like do you think that applies to the entrepreneur world?
I think so, mate. I think it's weird. You find yourself taking inventory of yourself.
Right.
So like, because you're questioning everything you do to a certain extent, because the detrimental impact it can have on your business if you make that decision wrong, like you mentioned, can be massive. So you're noticing that you're questioning everything you're doing, which makes you more aware, a lot more aware of you, a lot more aware of your decisions, the things that I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. Are they the right things that I need to be doing as a CEO now, rather than a talent acquisition lead for a global recruitment, global logistics business? So it's like just constantly thinking again in more detail, am I doing the right thing? Yeah. Is this the right thing to do as a CEO? Am I making the right decision? Because like you said, the small mistakes, when you've got a P&L so tight at the early stages of your business, it can be absolutely massive.
Absolutely. So you speak about obviously the mistakes and stuff. Is there any lessons that you've learned so early on that you think?
For me, it's just surround yourself with the people, better people.
Okay.
So do you know what I mean? A lot of entrepreneurs fail when you come into a business and it's, again, there's tons of capital investment companies, recruitment startup companies, all these different people. And you get very hung up on equity split. I want to own 100% of my business. But the way I looked at it is, I'd rather own a smaller equity stake in something that we can grow absolutely massive, and surround myself with people that can add a different skill set, rather than having 100% of something that could be pretty small and I've got to control everything. Yeah. So one thing I've learned is to be less hung up on the little things. Let's look at the bigger picture, surround myself with better people, and people I want to aspire to be like, people I enjoy spending time with, people that want me to, I want to be better because I'm spending time with better people. That's the biggest thing for me since coming into this.
How can then entrepreneurs who are new into it all, how can they look for mentorship? Is there any sort of things that you've learned so far? Obviously, I know that you've got the backing of KERV and whatnot, but is there any ways that they can sort of seek out mentorship themselves?
For me personally, it's someone you aspire to be like, someone that can add a skill set to your business and your personal, professional performance. But me, it's who would you go for a coffee with? Like with Kev, with Stu, all these people outside of work, whether we're KERV or not. You'd go to a pub with these blokes. You'd go and have a pint with them. You'd go sit down with them, and you could talk about football. You could talk about different things. People, it's that for me, because I know I can learn business from them, but can I work with them? Can I trust them? Because trust's a massive thing. So I mean, these guys effectively, I put my trust in them, and they put their trust in me. And it's got to be that element of trust. The humility of the guys I found has been unbelievable. The vulnerability. I mean, they've shared their personal stories, which related to mine. That, for me, you've got to be able to work, the people that you work with, if you've got that element of trust and you think, I want to be like that guy, or you won't go to I look at it, you won't go to a PT if he's slightly overweight. Because you're thinking, you go to a PT because you want his body. You go to an hairdresser because you think, I want his hair. Like, for me, I want to be that level, what they're at. So I'm going to surround myself with better people, then mentor that can give me the skill set to allow me to be there. And that's what them guys do.
Class. That vulnerability side then. like I think, have you got to be open then, do you believe, as much as you can in this business about how you're feeling about
Of course you are.
Yeah.
But with everything, because I'm obviously relatively new into my entrepreneurial business owner journey. I don't know everything. I don't know nothing. I know how to be a good recruiter, and I know the logistics industry like the back of my hand. But do I know how to manage a full end-to-end P&L, the little bits of it? Do I know the finance and how I should do certain things? No. Do I know marketing? No, that's your speciality. So no, it's definitely not me. It's it's an interesting one, that one.
Yeah. Well, I think we've spoke about a lot of entrepreneurial stuff at the minute. Now, I know that, Joe, you've openly discussed with me about ADHD and about the, obviously, just talk to me a little bit about when you were diagnosed with ADHD and when you started that.
I think if you speak to people that know me when I was a kid, I never really got diagnosed as a kid. So, but that impulsivity, the hyperactiveness. Once I start something, I don't stop it. I get like a bull in a china shop, but my attention can go. It can differ dead quick to different things and flip and flop. So I started noticing it a little bit more when back. So 2018, things was. I've always thought of things differently, and always it was weird. When someone's having a conversation with me, I'm thinking about 2 or 3 different things whilst having a conversation with these people.
Yep.
I can hear conversations in different rooms. It's ridiculous. But obviously, I just thought that was normal. When ADHD started getting quite a lot of coverage in the media and different things like that, it was around sort of October, November time when I paid privately to get an assessment. I scored the highest you can possibly score on all the ADHD things. So I got diagnosed in January, which has been been an interesting, answered a lot of questions. It's answered a ton of questions that I had in my head personally. It's been a bit of a decent emotional release, to be fair, because I always thought I was different, and now I know I am, and I'm all right with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been good, mate. It's been a learning curve, a massive learning curve. But I think there's a lot of stigma around ADHD, and I think I'm glad that you brought it up, because I think realistically there shouldn't be. You look at some of the biggest CEOs in the world, Richard Branson, ADHD. You've got all these. I think Albert Einstein had some form of ADHD, autism or something. It's a superpower if you can understand how to channel it properly.
Yeah.
If you don't, that's when it can run away with you.
Right. Yeah. How was that intersected with your entrepreneurship then? Because obviously you were diagnosed in 2018, and you've built on from there since then. How has that intersected with the whole process of an ADHD? If you don't mind me asking.
No, great. It's a superpower in the fact that the creativeness that I look at things differently, and any solutions that need creating, or if we're in a predicament and we think, right, we need to generate something pretty quickly here, or let's just say we ain't got enough money in the bank and we need to pay. My brain will go, right, but again, it comes from a survival sort of technique. I can create solutions very quickly on how we can generate revenue, or how can I get in front of that person? What can we do that's going to be of interest to that person? Them sort of creative ideas, brilliant. But again, this is why it's so important for me to surround myself with people that's got a different skill set, because I can be very impulsive. So I can go, yeah, we'll buy that. That's good for that software. Yeah, Bullhorn, brilliant, we'll have that. Where you've got people like Rainer, hold on a minute, Joe, let's have a think about that. Is it within the budget? Is it within the P&L? So again, from an entrepreneurial side of things, brilliant. And I think that's why it's very. I mean, when you've got a vision, an idea, and it's cemented in your brain, you're like, I've got to do it, and you don't think about anything else.
Absolutely. I think what you said there about it is superpower. I think that's interesting, because some people will sometimes think about ADHD and think, whoa, it can be a bit of a negative. However, you've sort of enhanced it, not enhanced it, you've used it to the best of your ability to then create.
I'll put it this way. So when I was recruiting for a business a while back, so my brain works slightly, I know that now, slightly different, right? So I'm having a conversation with a client on Teams, as we are nowadays, and the client's telling me, he said, right, okay, we need this person for this product in this region. My brain goes, right, boom, 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 boom. I wrote 3 names down on a piece of paper and passed it to one of the guys that worked in business. After the call, I went, they'll get that job. And they're like, what do you mean? Because my brain's already gone from having a really good conversation with this client, whilst I'm on the conversation thinking, who did I speak to yesterday? Who did I speak to last week? Who can I speak to? Who can I reach out to? Boom, boom, boom. They'll get that job. Yeah, he's looking. I spoke to him the other week. I've already done it. And it's weird. But again, there's a negative side of ADHD, which you need to be very careful of.
Yeah. Hyperfocus, I've seen. Do you want to speak to me a little bit about that? I'm just curious.
So once you've got that if you can bottle up hyper focus and sell it, I won't need a recruitment business, mate, because I'll be a multimillionaire. Because the level of, if you've got something that you're really interested in, for me, there's certain things. Obviously, logistics and supply chain. Once I started in logistics, I had to know everything about logistics and supply chain. What's a 3PL, 4PL? How does that integrate with supply chain management? What's a LLP? What's all these different acronyms? I need to know, understand it. And then when I went into these businesses, I was constantly going, well, asking the guy, so how does that work then? Tom, can I go for a walk around warehouse? How does that? So why are you doing that? And it's like, I had to know every single thing about it. But put it into another context, I think lockdown happened. Anything you could do, what could you do? Cycle, play golf. Right? Never picked up a golf club in my life. Started playing golf. Again, obsession, went into golf. I was off 4.5 in the space of a year from an handicap perspective, because I had to know the mechanics behind it. I had to know, well, why is my swing path coming in like that? I had to, and I'm walking up to the ball thinking, this is how my brain, right, the density of the air, it's raining, the impact of the ball is not going to go as far. And it's like, them look, when you look at, what's it called, Hangover, and you've got that guy on with all the calculations in the back, that's how my brain works.
Zach Galifianakis.
But once you've got that hyper focus and you can drill into something, you can fix like 6 hours worth of work in 2 hours. But if someone comes in and breaks that hyper focus, Jesus.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you have to really rein in that impulsivity, because sometimes you can, flipping out at somebody is obviously a big thing.
Yeah.
So I have to do a lot of work on that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, like you're on about there, obviously the positives of it, like you said, enhancing it as a superpower, but there are setbacks that come with that as well, like anything. So what's that been like then, having ADHD? Yeah.
So I think hyper focus, if you think about it in a certain way, it's an addictive personality. Once I get addicted to a certain thing, I want to know everything about it, and it sort of becomes that addiction. Quite quickly, I had to cut. I mean, I cut out alcohol quite a while ago.
Right.
Completely teetotal, because that was my coping mechanism for a long period of time for the ADHD. Right. There's a lot of noise in your head. A lot of noise. Like me, a lot of people with ADHD will tell you about this lot of noise. That can have a detrimental impact on your mental health. You have a lot of things like rejective sensitivity disorder. So you might feel like you're being rejected by a client, by a candidate. That has someone we are ADHD might not think nothing of it. We overthink things.
Right.
We will think, bloody hell, that's me. You don't like me. You don't rate me. That's my fault.
And that happens a lot in recruitment anyway, doesn't it?
Of course it does. I had a conversation yesterday. Unfortunately, they've got a strict PSL. They don't want to work with me. My brain was trying to tell me that's you. They don't want to work with you. They don't want to, but it's not. But I've had to do a shed load of work to understand how my brain works and work with it instead of against it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, the alcohol side of things, I was using it very much as a coping mechanism to shut that noise up. But obviously, as a person with an addictive personality, that was starting to become a huge problem. So I had to take note of that. And like I said, a good few months ago now, we sort of I've had to do a lot of work around that. But yeah, we've sort of gone sober a few months ago out there.
Right. Okay, mate. Well, I guess with that, was that a coping mechanism then? You using that? If you don't mind me asking, of course.
Would I say I'm an addict to alcohol? Was I using alcohol to get by? Yeah. So would I say I'm addicted to alcohol? Probably, yeah. And I think, again, another stigma around that. People, to me, addiction don't discriminate. Just the fact that I'm now a CEO, well, I'll be right. Leave him alone. It's fine. No, we're not bothered about it. When you think of addicts, or you think of an alcoholic, you think of someone with a brown bag sat on a park bench. It don't happen. I know. I mean, senior CEOs who rely on substances to take them out of that stress, out of that noise. And I had a good day. Fantastic. Let's have a beer. I had a bad day. Let's have a beer. I've had something that made me feel uncomfortable. Have a beer. I think what it was, I was very uncomfortable of feeling the emotions that I was feeling at any one point. So I had to shut that noise up.
And that came with ADHD.
So the ADHD, I think a lot of it could be childhood trauma from what we talked about and the coping mechanisms. And the way I looked at it, I can remember having it. And again, I've had therapy on this, which I'm not ashamed to admit. What the therapist sort of portrayed it into this image. So if you think about running through a jungle barefooted, right, being chased by a lion, you don't think, like, you're not worried about what you're standing on. You are getting as far away from that trauma, from that pain as you possibly can. So that pain that I felt when I was 15, 16, I wanted to get further away I can from that pain. So I've created these coping mechanisms, putting these masks on, mate, right? I used to try and make dopamine releases, buying watches, buying cars, attention, all this stuff that I thought would make me happy. Never did. Never once made me happy. And I think what I was doing, I was creating this big black hole that I was trying to fill with materialistic stuff that was getting bigger. And this materialistic stuff, holidays, all the cars, houses, blah, blah, all of it were bullshit. I had to take a real good look at myself and understand more about, okay, so what makes Joe McCormack tick? What is my purpose in life? And it was understanding more about how I worked and my brain worked. But I think realistically, go back to the analogy of running through a jungle with barefooted. I was standing on thorns. I was getting bit by snakes or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But the adrenaline were keeping me through. So for these last sort of 15 years before I got diagnosed, and last 15 before my mental health sort of took a bit of a hit, I was coping. I was putting masks on, like masking it throughout all this pit, relying on substances to get me out of that. All of a sudden, these cuts and bruises are starting to get affected. So once they're infected, then that's going to have, and then what it is, all this trauma and all this childhood trauma was starting to rise to the top. And I had to deal with it. And as I was dealing with it, relying 100% on alcohol to take me out of that state. So quite quickly, I sort of like, do you know what? It got out of hand. Mental health took a massive dip again. It's a depressant. I'm waking up in the morning feeling like absolute dog shit. Yep. By 2 o'clock, I'm thinking I need a beer because everyone knows on a hangover, you have a couple of pints, you're fine. Yeah. But that was starting to become every day.
It's a common phrase of hair of the dog, isn't it?
Yeah.
With stuff like that. And I assume it's sort of the same for when you're in that cycle as well.
Problem is, if that cycle's every day, all of a sudden that becomes an addiction.
Yeah.
And I had to take mate, do you know what? I had to take a look. I can remember, what was it, 2022? 2022. I took a long, hard look in a mirror, and I had this personal. I was grey, mate. I was grey. I was a stone overweight. I wasn't sleeping. My relationship with my kids were rubbish. My relationship with my wife were rubbish. It was, it was everyone else's fault in my eyes. Oh, it's because of this, or it's because of what I went through there, or and it wasn't. I had to take note. It was me. I had to take full responsibility for it. I had to understand that it was me that's causing this issue, and I need to get help for it. Yeah. And I think the day and age that we live in now in mental health, and people don't want to ask for help, and people are scared of asking for help. Like, nah, to be fair, do I want to come into a podcast about entrepreneurship, launching a business, admitting that I had a problem with alcohol? Probably not. But there might be people out there that can relate to this and think, do you know what? He's done all right since, do you know what I mean? I think realistically, since I've stopped drinking, my life has completely changed. Chalk and cheese. I've surrounded myself, again, like I have with KERV, with people that don't drink. I've looked at them, people thought, they've got 6 years sobriety. They've got no mental health issues. They've got, how have they done that? And I want to learn their ways of working from a sobriety perspective. How can I better myself? How can I be a better dad? How can I be a better husband? How can I have more patience with my kids? Getting sober has been the fundamental building block to allowing me to be a better human, a better dad, a better husband. I've got loads more patience. I'm sleeping better. I'm eating better. I've lost weight. Everything's got better. My mental health, 100%, has got significantly better since I've stopped drinking. The ADHD symptoms, quieten since I've stopped drinking. For me, it was literally a game changer. But again, it was down to surrounding myself with people that I can learn from. They can teach me certain things about sobriety, about life. It's honest, mate. We talk about a thing called spiritual malady. It's really cheesy. But spiritually, I'm a better person because I can't control everything. Right? And I wanted to control everything. I can't. And I'm all right with that. I can't control my emotions. I'm all right with that. And there's such an element of growth that comes within me sitting within them uncomfortable moments that make me a better businessman. Yep. Because there's going to be moments in business where it's going to be uncomfortable. And I can't mask that with alcohol. So it's teaching me everything. And do you know what, mate? I used to not be able to sit in the living room with the kids watching TV because my brain's going 100 miles an hour. I'd cause an argument with the missus just so I can go out to the pub. It's ridiculous, mate. Not thinking about what the destruction or the stuff that I'm leaving behind. Now, I can sit with my phone outside, not worry about that. Spend time with my kids, spend time and be present with them, because that's the time they've got. My relationship with my kids now is unbelievable. They like their dad again.
Yeah.
They want to spend time with their dad. They want to go to the park. We want to do different things. We're looking forward to Christmas. We're going on holiday. And I personally believe that that is come from me getting sober.
And you think, admirable, mate, to be fair, the journey that you've been on with this kind of experiences that you've had. Do you think it's obviously going into the entrepreneur side, but more of a life side of things that comes with it, the whole self-awareness piece and surround you with the right people, as well as being an entrepreneur and doing all this stuff?
I believe all what's happened to me, mate, has been fundamentally stepping stones. I had to get to a rock bottom to pack in the drinking, to find myself a little bit. Because I was trying to be someone that I didn't want to be. Putting masks on. Surrounding myself with, without sounding disrespectful to the people in the pub. They're not really my mates. But I would rather spending time with them than I was my family. And that's sad. But that's what addiction does to you.
Yep.
It grabs hold of you. It makes you think that these, and again, putting it onto an ADHD side, I was convinced my missus didn't want me. Didn't like me. But it was me creating these problems in my head and then drinking on it. Making it worse. Huge loop, just going round and round and round. Until I broke that cycle and now realise that my wife does like me. She might think I'm a bit of an idiot sometimes. She's got a very good reason to do that.
Yeah.
I still wind her up because I'm a messy git. But I know genuinely she loves me.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law, do you know what I mean? Unbelievable lady. Loves me and cares for me. She's there for the kids. They didn't give up on me when they should have given up on me. And I think getting sober has sort of shown them that they've got their Joe back, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of work that I've done myself on this period of time of getting sober, a lot of work on, I do every morning, 5 things, done it this morning, 5 things that I'm grateful for in the morning. Because it feeds into that subconscious. There's a lot of people a lot worse off than I was and where I am now. Again, at night time, took like a bit of a moral inventory of myself. Have I been kind today? Have I done something I'm not proud of today? And again, you start to become aware of your actions, aware of your traits and what you do.
Absolutely.
Because if I'm not aware of what I'm doing, I don't know how to correct it or not. Or I don't know if I'm in the right direction or going down the right direction. So I think doing a lot of work on myself and understanding what makes me tick and what's Joe McCormack all about.
Yeah.
It's changed me from what I was 10 months ago to where I am now.
As this sort of self-awareness piece came more so as you became looking to become more independent, obviously with the entrepreneurial stuff, has that started to
I couldn't
become more
have been a
evident?
business owner the way that I used to be. Without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
I want no honesty to work for me. Self-obsessed, like wanting to but again, I say self-obsessed, but deep down, I hated myself. Deep down, I felt like I wasn't worthy, didn't love myself.
A mask, like you were saying.
Of course, you put a mask on, that you're this person, this confident. My mother-in-law says to me all the time, you're the most unconfident, confident person, because you portray an image that you're confident, you know what you're talking about, realistically. But again, doing the work, realistically, I'm a 15, 16-year-old lad that all he wanted to do would be loved by his mum and dad. So it's like, as much as sad that sounds, and to be fair, I'm all right with that now.
Yeah.
Because I've done a lot of work on it. But realistically, I lived a good part of my life trying to run away from that. Apart from now, I'm all right sitting in it, because that's my journey. That's my thing. And I'm all right not drinking through that pain anymore, because I've dealt with it. And the thing is, mate, I can remember sitting myself and thought, oh, I'm going to make sure that I am that dad that my kids deserve, not like my mum and dad, blah, blah. And I was turning into that.
Yeah.
And I think it was that, honestly, mate, my little girl, she's 5. I wasn't necessarily going to go and show this, but she said to a nana at one point, she said, oh, Nana, I want a new daddy, I do. She goes, my daddy's always drunk. And I was like, wowzers. Mate, honestly, it gets me now a little bit, but that was like a knife through my heart.
Yeah,
From that day, mate, I've never had a beer since.
Yeah. Mate, it's like, honestly, like, obviously I'm learning so much about you through this, but that is honestly amazing for what you've been through and what you know, where you are now. Essentially, you should be really proud of how you've come through.
It's not I've done the work, but surrounding myself with people that's guided me through this process. Therapists, blokes from who have stopped drinking.
Yeah.
I follow a 12-step program. That 12-step program has learned more about me and passing away certain things that I can't control, things that I've done when I'm drunk, passing that across. That's fine. You deal with it. You make amends with the people that you've hurt. Unbelievable, mate.
Yeah.
Best thing I've ever done.
So now, what advice and passings on could you give to people? Maybe tools, resources, things like that, to people that you might not have been aware of at the time, and what you'd love
as
to.
much as sobriety changed my life, it's not for everyone. Not
Yeah,
everyone's got a problem with drink. Mate, do I miss drinking? Of course I do, to a certain extent. Do I miss going out with lads, or like you guys are going out tonight? Would I have loved to come out and have a beer?
Yeah.
100%. But I've got to understand that that's just not me anymore. I'm all right with it. But there's plenty, honestly, mate, there's plenty. If you feel like you've got some sort of traits of ADHD, impulsivity, hyperfocus, quite a sensitive person, as in you overthink things.
Yeah.
Mine started out originally as health anxiety. It was ridiculous, obsessing about certain things. Oh, something's up with me. My heart's going. Crackers disappeared as soon as I stopped drinking.
Yeah.
But it's just sort of, there's plenty of resource out there. The UK market at the minute it's not the best for getting diagnosed with ADHD. I think there's a 4-year waiting list now if you go through the NHS, but there's tons of private. Again, it costs a bit of money. I think I paid about 800 quid for mine, but it's best 800 quid I've ever spent, because it answered a lot of questions. I know why my brain does what it does, and I can get the resource and the help to be able to support it. But for me, the drinking aspect of what I went through, if you are questioning whether your alcohol consumption is getting to a certain point where it's becoming unmanageable, you don't have to use the alcoholic terminology. You don't. If you are relying on a substance to get you through the day, and it might just be at the weekends, it might just be if it's becoming out of control, there's places out there that you can get support. Talk to someone, talk to your doctor, therapist, your mate, anybody. I think the problem is, especially with men's mental health now, there's too many people killing themselves, and it's sad. It's horrible. I mean, if you look at the suicide rates in the UK now for men, horrendous. And this might be a bit controversial, but I know people within my network who have committed suicide or died by suicide. I know 3 of them now that were probably on the back of a bender. So been out 3 or 4 days. What it does to your mental health, substances together, cocaine and alcohol, it creates a certain substance which can make you become psychotic. You're not doing things that you would do if you were sober or not under the influence. Even if it's just, I tried to get sober for like 5 years. I've got a problem, I ain't got a problem. But just look at it. Just become aware of it. Do a bit of a journal of how many drinks you're having in a week, and then start to look at it from that aspect. Try to reduce it if you think you've got a problem. If not, and it's not affecting your mental health, 100%, get crack on. But if it's starting to, if you feel like alcohol is starting to become a bit of a stumbling block, I would 100%, by me personally, can only talk by my own experience, by far the best thing I've ever done.
Yeah. And it's allowed you to get that focus now to where you are.
Focus,
currently.
but again, everything. Sleeping better. Sleep is such a fundamental part to your mental health.
Absolutely, mate, yeah.
Like sleeping, recovering, going to the gym, the endorphins that release. I always used to look for quick dopamine releases, whatever it may be, buying something. Alcohol releases dopamine. Boom, pint. Oh, brilliant. My brain goes, oh, like that. Have another one.
Yeah.
Boom, have another one. Now, certain things for me, research, ice baths, change my life.
My dad's got into them. He loves
so,
them.
So if you look at certain substances, what people talk about, cocaine, peaks, release of dopamine, after 6, 7, 8 minutes, drops. So it peaks, drops. So that's when people go, oh, I want some more. Alcohol, again, very similar, drops. Ice baths, 6 hours, you're still getting the slow release of dopamine. 3 minutes of ice bath will give you the same, 5 times as much dopamine as alcohol or cocaine.
Yeah. Well,
unbelievable.
Honestly, mate, like I feel like we've taken a bit of a turn away, but I'm glad we have and spoke about this stuff because it is important. Absolutely, especially like you're saying, not being gender biased here, but a lot more in men nowadays. Obviously, being afraid to talk about things.
You've got to put this facade on, haven't you? You've got to put a
no, it is.
And I think again, is it to do with entrepreneurship? Maybe not. But one thing I do,
it's important, mate.
How many CEOs or senior directors and executive are the stress levels, not necessarily ADHD, but the stress levels that they can't switch off from? Like I mentioned there, 24/7 this job is. So a lot of people was relying on a substance to take them out of that 24/7 job. If it helps one person, then this conversation, mate, has been worth it. But I think realistically, if there's only, I mean, am I the person I am because of the addiction? Yeah, 100%. But it's made me a better person.
Yeah.
because now I'm a lot more aware of my behaviours, a lot more aware of what I need to do to make sure that my mental health is in the best position it can be, which allows me to be a better businessman, a better business partner, a better dad, a better husband, and just an all-round better person.
Yep.
It's massively important, mate, and I think mental health needs, with yesterday, the mental health day, more people need to talk about how they're feeling. And addiction don't need to be a stigma around it, because you look at some of the most successful people in the world. You look at Zac Efron, addicted to alcohol, stopped drinking. Bradley Cooper, 20 years sober. All these senior people, like all these people that have high-profiled, successful jobs, are quite open and honest about becoming sober because of their addiction.
Yeah.
Don't discriminate. You shouldn't be ashamed of it, and you should be in a position where you think, you know what, I'm quite proud, in fact,
Should be.
I'm proud of one, admitting that I had an issue with alcohol, but also I'm actually grateful to be an addict, because it's allowed me to actually find myself a little bit and be a better person in the meantime.
Definitely. I'm going to jump onto the final question because I feel like we've came to the point where you were speaking about if we can help one person today, then that'll be enough. So I think from your perspective, what one piece of I asked this to everyone, but I think this is definitely more prevalent. What piece of one golden advice would you give to, say, someone in your similar position as you were potentially, or as you are now with like ADHD as an entrepreneur, or maybe an alcohol, presenting you've got like alcohol substance problems, things like that? What one piece of advice would you be given to them?
Surround yourself with people you aspire to be.
Yeah.
Don't do things on your own. The world's a lonely place as it is. There's a lot of pressures. Everybody, cost of living nowadays, ridiculous. You know what I mean? Providing for your family and all these different things where it's adding a lot of pressure to your mental health, a lot of pressures to business. You make rash decisions because you're in a certain situation. Surround yourself with people that add significant value to you, to your skill set, to your mental health, and people that you aspire to be like. Do I want to be like a Kev and a Stu? Of course I do. So that's why I've surrounded myself with people, so I can learn from those guys to allow me to put me in the best position I can to achieve what I believe that I'm capable of doing. But yeah, for me, surround yourself with like-minded people with good values and good principles.
Thank you very much, Joe. It's honestly been one of the best podcasts so far, in my opinion, in terms of honesty and literally just getting it all out there in terms of vulnerability, you know, and then speaking about your issues and sharing it with someone.
I think the thing is, mate, as well with me, I've always been quite an open person. I think vulnerability is key, especially as a CEO of a business, because people that want to come and work for me, I'd rather them know now that this is Joe McCormack.
Yeah.
And the thing is with LinkedIn, I mean, I'm guessing this probably is going to go on a LinkedIn platform at some point.
Yeah.
My professional life has been very much kept separate from personal. So it's like a weight will be lifted effectively. So I'm quite happy for this to then sort of say, look, this is who Joe McCormack is. To be fair, mate, it feels like a huge weight has been lifted a little bit. So I appreciate that.
Good for yourself, and hopefully inspire so many to, you know.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity, mate. I've really enjoyed it.
No problem at all. Been a pleasure, Joe. Thank you very much.
Cheers. Appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to KERVcast. To learn more about KERV and stay connected, be sure to check out the episode description, where you'll find links to our website, social media platforms, and more information about our special guests.